To biological classification. Since the dawn of civilization, there have been many attempts to classify living organisms. It was done instinctively, not using criteria that were scientific but born out of need to use organisms for own use, for food, shelter, and clothing. Aristotle was the earliest to attain a more scientific basis for classification. He used simply morphological characters to classify plants into trees, shrubs, and herbs. He also divided animals into two groups, those which had red blood and those did not. In Linnaeus' time, a two-kingdom system of classification with Plantae and Animalia kingdom was developed that included all plants and animals respectively. This system does not distinguish between the eukaryotes and prokaryotes, unicellular and multicellular organisms, and photosynthetic green algae and non-photosynthetic fungi organisms. Classification of organisms into plants and animals were easily done and was easy to understand, but a large number of organisms did not fall into either category, hence the two kingdom classification used a long time found inadequate. Besides gross morphology, a need was also felt for including other characters like cell structure, nature of wall, mode of nutrition, habitat, method of reproduction, evolutionary relationship, etc. Classification systems for the living organism have hence undergone several changes over the time. Through our plant and animal kingdoms have been constant under all different systems. The understanding of what groups organisms be included under the kingdoms have been changing. The number and the nature of other kingdoms have also been understood differently by different scientists over the time. R.H. Whitaker proposed a five-kingdom classification. The kingdoms defined by him were named Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. The main criteria for classification used by him include cell structure, body, organization, mode of nutrition, reproduction, and phylogenetic relationship. Gives a comparative account of different characteristics of five kingdoms. The three-domain system has also been proposed that divides the kingdom Monera into two domains, leaving the remaining eukaryote kingdom in the third domain, and thereby a sixth kingdom classification. You will learn about this system in detail at higher classes. Let us look at the five kingdom classification to understand the issues and consideration that influence the classification system. Earlier classification systems include bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, mosses, ferns, gymnosperm, and the angiosperm under plants. The character that unified the whole kingdom was that all the organisms included had a cell wall in their cells. This placed together groups which widely differed in other characteristics. It brought together the prokaryotic bacteria and the blue-green algae cyanobacteria with other groups which were eukaryotic. It also grouped together the unicellular organism and the multicellular ones, says for example, Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra were placed together under algae. The classification did not differentiate between the heterotrophic group fungi and autotrophic green plants. Through they also showed a characteristics difference in their wall composition. The fungi had chitin in their walls, while the green plants had a cellulosic cell wall. When such a characteristics were considered, the fungi were placed in a separate kingdom. Kingdom fungi. All prokaryotic organisms were grouped together under kingdom Monera, and the unicellular eukaryotic organisms were placed in kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista has brought together Chlamydomonas, Chlorella, placed in algae with plants and both having cell walls with Paramecium, and Amoeba, which were earlier placed in the animal kingdom, which lacked cell wall. It has put together organisms which in earlier classification were placed in different kingdoms. This happened because the criteria for classification changed. This kingdom of changes will place in future to depending on the improvement in our understanding of characteristics and evolutionary relationship. Over time, an attempt has been evolved a classification system which reflects not only the morphological, physiological, and reproductive similarities, but is also phylogenetic, is based on the evolutionary relationship. In this chapter, we will study characteristics of kingdom Monera, Protista, fungi of the Whitaker system of classification. The kingdoms Plantae and Animalia, commonly referred to as plant and animal kingdoms respectively, will be dealt separately in chapters 3 and 4. Kingdom Monera. Bacteria are the sole members of the kingdom Monera. They are the most abundant microorganisms. Bacteria occur almost everywhere. Hundreds of bacteria are present in handful of soil. They also live in extreme habitats such as hot spring, deserts, snow and deep oceans where very few other life forms can survive. Many of them live in or on the other organisms as parasites. Bacteria are grouped under four categories based on their shape: the spherical coccus pluricocci, the rod shaped bacillus, the comma shaped vibrium, and the spiral spirillum. Though the bacterial structure is very simple, they are very complex in behavior. Compared to many other organisms, bacteria as a group show the most extensive metabolic diversity. Some of the bacteria are autotrophic, they synthesize their own food from inorganic substance. They may be photosynthetic autotrophic or chemosynthetic autotrophic. The vast majority of the bacteria are heterotrophs. They depend on other organisms or on their organic matter for food. Archaeobacteria. These bacteria are special since they live in some most harsh habitats such as extremely salt areas, halophils, hot spring, thermoacidophils, and marshy areas, methanogens. Archaeobacteria are different from other bacteria in having different cell wall structure. As this feature is responsible for their survival in extreme conditions, methanogens are present in the gut of several ruminant animals, such as cows and buffaloes, and they are responsible for the production of methane biogas for the dung of this animal. Eubacteria. These are thousands of different eubacteria or true bacteria. These are characterized by the presence of rigid cell wall and if motile flagellum. The cyanobacteria, also referred to as blue-green algae, have chlorophyll A similar to green plants and photosynthetic autotrophs. The cyanobacteria are unicellular, conoidal or filamentous freshwater, marine or terrestrial algae. The colonies are generally surrounded by gelatinous sheath. They often form blooms in polluted water bodies. Some of these organisms can fix atmospheric nitrogen in specialized cells called heterocysts. Example, nostoc and anabena. Chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria oxidize various inorganic substances such as nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia and use the released energy for the ATP production. They play a great role in recycling nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and sulfur. Heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria are most abundant in the nature. The majority are important decomposers. Many of them have significant impact on human affairs. They are helpful in making curd from milk, production of antibiotic fixing nitrogen in liver. Roots. Some are pathogens causing damage to human beings, crop, farms, animals, and pets. Cholera, typhoid, tetanus, citrus, and canker are well known diseases caused by different bacteria. Bacteria reproduce mainly by fission. Sometimes, under unfavorable conditions, they produce spores. They also reproduce by the sort of sexual reproduction by adopting a primitive type of DNA transfer from one bacterium to other. The mycoplasma are organisms that completely lack a cell wall. They are the smallest living cells known and can survive without oxygen. Many mycoplasma are pathogenic in animals and plants. Kingdom Protista. All single cell eukaryotes are placed under Protista, but the boundaries of this kingdom are not well defined. What may be photosynthetic protistian to one biologist may be plant to another. In this book, we include chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans under Protista. Members of Protista are primarily aquatic. This kingdom forms a link with the other dealing with plants, animals, and fungi. Being eukaryotes, the protistian cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Some have flagella or cilia. Protists reproduce asexually or sexually by process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. Chrysophytes. This group includes diatoms and golden algae desmids. They are found in fresh water as well as in marine environments. They are microscopic and float passively in water currents. Plankton. Most of them are The photosynthetic in diatoms, the cell walls form two thin overlapping shells which fit together as a soap box. The walls are embedded with silica and thus the walls are indestructible. Thus, diatoms have left defined large amount of cell wall deposit in their habitat. This accumulation occurred billions of years, referred to as diatomous earth. Being gritty, this soil is used in polishing, filtration of oils and syrups. Diatoms are the chief producers in the ocean. Dinoflagellates. These organisms are most marine and photosynthetic. They appear yellow, green, brown, blue, or red depending on the main pigments present in their cells. The cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on other surface. Most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinal and the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. Very often, red dinoflagellates, example gonolax, undergo such rapid multiplication that they make the sea appear red. Rare tides. Toxin released by such large number of even kill other marine animals such as fishes. Euglenites. Majority of them are freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. Instead of cell wall, they have protein-rich layer in the pellicle which makes their body flexible. They have the two flagella, a short and a long one. Though they are photosynthetic in presence of sunlight, when deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs by predating on other small organisms. Interestingly, the pigments of euglenites are identical to their presence in higher plants. Example, euglena. Slime mold. Slime molds are saprophytic protists. The body moves along decaying twigs and leaves engulfing organic material. Under suitable conditions, they form an aggregation called plasmodium, which may grow and spread over several feet. During unfavorable conditions, the plasmodium differentiate and forms fruiting bodies. Bearing spores at their tips, the spores process possesses true walls. They are extremely resistant and survive for many years. Even under adverse conditions, the spores are dispersed by air current. Protozoans. All protozoans are heterotrophs and live as predators or parasites. They are believed to be primitive relatives of animals. These are four major groups of protozoans. Amazon protozoans, these organisms live in fresh water, seawater, or moist soil they may and capture. They their prey by putting out pseudopodia, fall split as in amoeba. Marine forms have silica shells on their surface. Some of them, such as Entamoeba, are parasites. Flagellated protozoans. The members of this group are either free living or parasitic. They have flagella. The parasitic form cause diseases such as sleeping sickness, example, trypanosoma. Ciliated protozoans. These are aquatic, actively moving organisms because of the presence of thousands of cilia. They have cavity gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface. The coordinated movement of the rows of cilia cause the water laden with the food to be stirred into the gullet. Example, paramecium. Sporozoans. These include diverse organisms that have infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. The most notorious is Plasmodium, malarial parasite, which causes malaria, a disease which has a staggering effect on the human population. Kingdom fungi. The fungi constitute a unique kingdom of heterotrophic organisms. They show a great diversity in morphology and habitat. You must have seen a fungi on a moist bread and a rotten fruits. The common mushroom you eat and the toad souls are also fungi. White spots seen on mustard leaves are due to the parasitic fungus. Some unicellular fungi, example yeast, are used to be make bread and beer. Other fungi cause diseases in plants and animals. Wheat rusting Puccinia is an important example. Some are the source of antibiotics penicillin. Example fungi are cosmopolitan and occur in air, water, soil, and on animals and plants. They prefer to grow in warm and humid places. Have you ever wondered why we keep food in the refrigerator? Yes, it is to prevent food from going bad due to the bacterial or fungal infection. With the exception of yeast, which are unicellular, fungi are filamentous. Their body consists of long, slender, thread-like structures called hyphae. The network of hyphae is known as mycelium. Some hyphae are continued tubes which filled with multinuclear cytoplasm. These are Coin, so, coinocytic hyphae. Others have septae or cross walls in their hyphae. The cell walls of fungi are composed of chitin and polysaccharides, their substrates, and hence are called saprophytes. Those that depend on living plants and animals are called parasites. They can also live as symbionts in association with algae as lichens with roots of higher plants and mycorrhiza. Reproduction in fungi can take place by vegetative means, fragmentation, fission, and budding. Asexual reproduction is by spores called conidia or sporanges or zoospores, and sexual reproduction is by oospores, ascospores, and basidospores. The various spores are produced in distinct structure called fruiting bodies. The sexual cycle involves the following three steps: fusion of protoplasm between two motile or non-motile gametes called plasmogamy, fusion of two nuclei called karyogamy, meiosis in zygote resulting in haploid spores. When a fungus reproduces sexually, two haploid hyphae of compatible mating types some come together and fuse. In some fungi, the fusion of two haploid cells immediately results in diploid cells 2n. However, in other fungi, ascomycetes and basidomycetes, an intervening dikaryotic stage n plus n, that is 2 nuclei per cell, occurs. Such as condition is called dikaryon, and the phase is called dikaryo phase of fungus. Later, the parental nuclei fuse and the cells become diploid. The fungi form fruiting bodies in which reduction division occurs, leading to formation of haploid spores. The morphology of the mycelium, mode of spore formation, and fruiting bodies form the basis for the divisions of the kingdom into various classes. 2.31 Phi comicids. Members of phi comicids are found in aquatic habitats and on decaying wood in moist and damp places or as obligate parasites on plants. The mycelium is aseptate and coinocytic. Asexual reproduction takes place by zoospores, motile, or by aplanospores, non-motiles. These spores are endogenously produced in sporangium. A zygospore is formed by fusion of two gametes. These gametes are similar in morphology, isogamous, or dissimilar, anisogamous or oogamous. Some common examples are mucor, rhizopus, the bread mold mentioned earlier, and albugo, the parasite fungi. Ascomycetes, commonly known as sac fungi. The ascomycetes are mostly multicellular. Penicillium, example penicillium, or rarely unicellular. Example yeast Saccharomyces. They are saprophytic and decomposers, parasites or coprophilous growing on dung. Mycelium is branched and septate. The asexual spores are conidioid, produced exogenously on the special mycelium called conidiospores. Conidia on germination produce mycelium. Sexual spores are called ascospores, which are produced endogenously in sac-like asci, singular ascus. These are arranged in different types of fruiting bodies called ascocarps. Some examples are aspergillus, claviceps, and neurospora. Neurospora is extensively used in biochemical and genetic work. Many members, like morels and truffles, are edible and are considered delicious. 2.3.3 Basidomyces. Commonly known forms of basidomyces are mushrooms, bracket fungi, or puffball. They grow in soil or on logs and tree stumps and in living plant bodies as parasites. Example, rust and smuts. Mycelium is branched and septate. Asexual spores are generally not found, but vegetative reproduction by fragmentation is common. The sex organs are absent. But plasmogamy is brought about by fusion of two vegetative or somatic cells of different strains on genotypes. The resultant structure is dichoric, which ultimately gives rise to basidium. Karyogamy and meiosis take place in basidium, producing four basidospores. The basidospores are exogenously produced on the basidium. These basidia are arranged in fruiting bodies called basidocarps. Some common members are agaricus mushroom and Ustilagos mud and Puccinia rust fungus. 2.3.4 Deuteromycetes. commonly known as imperfect fungi because only the asexual or vegetative phase of the fungi are known. When the sexual forms of these fungi were discovered, they were moved into the classes they rightly belong to. It is also possible that the asexual vegetative stage have been given one name and placed under deuteromycetes, and the sexual stage another and placed under another class. Later, when the linkages were established, the fungi were correctly identified and moved out of deuteromycetes. Once perfect sexual stages of members of the deuteromycetes were discovered, they often moved to ascomycetes and basidiomycetes. The deuteromycetes reproduce only by asexual spores known as conidia. The mycelium is septate and branched. Some members are saprophytes or parasites, while a large number of them are decomposed of litter and help in mineral cycling. Some examples are Alternaria, Colutrichum, and Trichoderma. 2.4 Kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae includes all eukaryotic chlorophyll containing organisms commonly called plants. A few members are partially heterotrophic, such as the insectivorous plants or parasite. Bladderwort and Venus flytrap, example of insectivorous plants, and Cuscata is the parasite. The plant cells have a eukaryotic structure with prominent chloroplast and cell wall mainly made of cellulose. You will study the eukaryotic cell structure in detail in chapter 8. Plantae includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, and gymnosperms and the angiosperm. Life cycle of plants has been two distinct phases: the diploid sporophytic and the haploid gametophytic, that alternate with each other. The lengths of the haploid and diploid phases and whether these phases are free living or dependent on other vary among different groups in plants. This phenomenon is called alternation of generation. You will study further details of this kingdom in chapter 3. Kingdom Animalia 2.5. The kingdom is characterized by heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms that are multicellular and their cells lack cell walls. They directly or indirectly depend on plants for food. They digest their food in an internal indirectly depend on plants for food. They digest their food in an internal cavity and stored food reserves as glycogens or fat. Their mode of nutrition is holozoic or by ingestion of food. They follow a definite growth pattern and grow into adults. They have a definite shape and size. Higher forms show elaborate sensory and neuromotor mechanism. Most of them are capable of locomotion. The sexual reproduction is by copulation of male and female followed by embryological development. Salient features of various phyla are described in chapter 4. 2.6 Viruses, Virids, and Prions and Lichens. In the 5 kingdom classification of Whitaker, there is no mention of lichens and some acellular organisms like viruses, virids, and prions. These are briefly introduced here. All of us who have suffered the ill effects of common cold and flu know what effects viruses can have on us, even if we do not associate it with our condition. Viruses did not find a place in classification since they are not considered truly living. If we understand living as this organism that have a cell structure, the viruses are non-cellular organisms that are characterized by having an inert crystalline structure outside the living cell. Once they infect a cell, that take over the machinery over the host cell to replicate themselves, killing the host. Would you call viruses living or non-living? Virus mean venom or poisonous fluid. Dmitry Ivanovsky 1892 recognized certain microbes as cause organisms of the mosaic disease of tobacco. They were found to be smaller than bacteria because they pass through the bacteria-proof filters. M.W. Bajenik 1898 demonstrated that the extract of the infected plants of the tobacco could cause infection in healthy plants and named the new pathogen virus and called the fluid as Contagium vivum fluidum, infection living fluid. W.M. Stanley showed that viruses could be crystallized or crystal consist largely of proteins. They are inert outside their specific host cells. Viruses are obligate parasites. In addition to proteins, the viruses also contain genetic material that could be either RNA or DNA. No virus contains both RNA and DNA. A virus is nucleoprotein and the genetic material is infectious. In general, virus that infect plants have single stranded RNA, and the viruses that infect animals have either single or double stranded RNA or double stranded DNA. Bacterial viruses or bacteriophages, viruses that infect the bacteria, are usually double stranded DNA viruses. The protein coat, called capsid, made of small subunits called capsomeres, protects the nucleic acid. These capsomeres are arranged in helical or polyhedral geometric forms. Viruses cause diseases like mumps, smallpox, herpes, and influenza. AIDS in humans is also caused by a virus. In plants, the symptoms can be mosaic formation, leaf rolling and curling, yellowing and vein clearing, and dwarfing and stunted growth. Viroids. In 1971, Theo Diner discovered a new infectious agent that was smaller than viruses and caused potato spindle tuber disease. It was found to be free RNA. It lacked the protein code that is found in viruses. Hence the name viroid. The RNA of the viroid was a low molecular weight. Prions in modern medicine, certain infectious neurological diseases were found to be transmitted by an agent consisting of abnormal folding protein. The agent was similar in size to viruses. These agents were called prions. The most notable diseases caused by prions are bovine spongiform encephalopathy (BSC), commonly called mad cow disease in cattle, and its analogy variant CR-Jacob disease (CJD) in humans. Lichens. Lichens are symbiotic association, mutually useful association between algae and fungi. The algal component is known as phycobient and fungal component as mycobient, which are autotrophic and heterotrophic respectively. Algae prepare food for fungi, and fungi provide shelter and absorb mineral nutrients and water for its partner. So close is their association that if one saw a lichen in nature, one would never imagine that they had two different organisms within them. Lichens are very good pollution indicators. They do not grow in polluted areas. Summary. Biological classification of plants and animals first proposed Aristotle on the basis of simple morphological characters. Linnaeus later classified all living organisms into two kingdoms, Plantae and Animalia. Whitaker proposed an elaborate five-kingdom classification, Monera, Protista, Fungi, and Plantae and Animalia. The main criteria of five-kingdom classification were cell structure, body organization, mode of nutrition and reproduction, and phylogenetical relationship. In the five kingdom classification, bacteria are included in kingdom Monera. Bacteria are cosmopolitan in distribution. These organisms show the most extensive metabolic diversity. Bacteria may be autotrophic or heterotrophic in their mode of nutrition. Kingdom Protista includes all single cell eukaryotes such as chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. Protists have defined nucleus and other membrane bound organelles. They produce both asexually and sexually. Members of the kingdom fungi show a great diversity in structure and habitat. Most fungi are saprophytic in their mode of nutrition. They show asexual and sexual reproduction. Phycomycetes, excomycetes, basidiomycetes, and deuteromycetes are the four classes under the kingdom. This Plantae includes all eukaryotic chlorophyll contained organisms. Algae, bryophytes, pterophytes, and gymnosperm and angiosperms are included in this group. The life cycle of plants exhibit alternation of generation, gametophyte and sporophyte generation. The heterotrophic eukaryotic multicellular organism lacking a cell wall are included in the kingdom Animalia. The mode of nutrition of this organism is holozoic. They reproduce mostly by the sexual mode. Some acellular organisms like virus and viroids as well as lichens are not included in the five kingdom system of classification. Thank you.